my friends. Today we're going to make a delicious curried quinoa cauliflower dish in our solar oven, the GoSun Fusion. These are the ingredients that we'll need to get started for today, including quinoa. We're going to use 2 cups of quinoa. This is tri-colored quinoa, but other types of quinoa work as well. Half a cup of raisins. Golden raisins work as well because the sweeter the better. There's 1 cup of diced sweet onion, 1 pound of cauliflower, and light coconut milk. You can use any kind of coconut milk you would prefer, but I think that light coconut milk tends to work best. In terms of spices, we have cardamom, turmeric, curry powder, ginger, red chili powder, so really just a little bit of chili powder, and of course salt. We'll start with 1 teaspoon of salt when we prepare the quinoa, and then we can always add a bit more salt later. Let's get started. We'll take our 2 cups of quinoa, rinsed and drained, and put it into our GoSun Fusion tray. You always want to rinse and drain your quinoa before you use it because you never know. Now we're gonna add our 1 cup of onion. And we're going to mix this together, the onions and the quinoa, with all of the spices. So we'll start with our salt, our ginger, curry, cardamom, and turmeric. And then we're going to add our coconut milk to this. This is almost 14 ounces, so it's just under 2 cups of coconut milk, which is fine. You want to mix that in really well so that all the spices get evenly distributed. All right, now once that's all mixed in together, we're gonna sprinkle on top the raisins. I like to sprinkle these on top last because I notice they tend to kind of sink to the bottom, and putting them on top kind of helps slow that down a little bit. So now we're gonna put this outside to cook for about 45 minutes. All right, so we have our GoSun set up. It's facing the sun. It's a nice warm day today, so I expect this should be ready in about 45 minutes to an hour so that we can put the cauliflower in. And while this is cooking, we'll just get our cauliflower ready. So you're going to need about 1 pound of cauliflower, or as much as you can fit into the tray. I recommend about 1 pound, and of course the fresher the better. And then you're gonna need some spices. So we're gonna use a 1.5 teaspoons of curry powder, so you're gonna use some more of that curry powder, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and 1/4 teaspoon, so just a little bit of chili powder, and that'll give it a kind of a nice kick to it. Optional, so you don't need to use this if you don't want to. The recipe will still work fine, but optional is some olive oil spray, which I'll use to coat the cauliflower once it's chopped up so that the spices will stick a little bit better to it. Okay, so let's chop up this cauliflower. We have our cauliflower here. We're gonna give it a quick spray with our olive oil spray, which again is optional. Just kind of wanna give it a quick toss there. Make sure it's all covered because that way our spices will stick a little bit better. All right. So I brought our quinoa back inside really quickly. It's still cooking. It's not done yet, but it's about halfway done. And this is the perfect time when we can put our cauliflower in on top. The reason why we wait to put the cauliflower in is because the cauliflower will cook a bit more quickly than the quinoa. And if you put them both in at the same time, the cauliflower will sink in very deeply into the quinoa, and the cauliflower might overcook. And what happens when you cook overcook cauliflower is it gets a bit mushy, which, you know, is not the end of the world. It still tastes really good because of the seasonings, but I prefer my cauliflower undercooked to overcooked. Plus it makes things like reheating a lot better. So we're adding all of our beautifully seasoned cauliflower on top here. And we're gonna put this back in for another 45 minutes to an hour. All right, so our cauliflower was put in about 55 minutes ago. Ooh, you can see it steaming now. This is looking good. So let's take our curried quinoa and cauliflower dish out and see how it's doing. So what I recommend is scooping out some of the cauliflower. It should just be laying on top to give you some room, because with quinoa, after it's cooked, you always want to fluff it up. All right, we're gonna take the quinoa that's nice and cooked and just give it a stir. Make sure everything is nice and fluffed. It'll increase in volume a little bit when you do this, which is why you need to take the cauliflower out, because this tray is full. Right, so let's serve this. We can use a little bit of arugula. It's kind of a backdrop for this sweet dish. Add some of our quinoa. Some of our cauliflower on the side. A few pine nuts. The pine nuts mixed in with the quinoa really give it like a nice crunch. And here you have it, a beautiful dish of curried cauliflower with quinoa, garnished with pine nuts, served over a bed of arugula. Bon appetit, my friends. Enjoy.